One way to sound immediately more fluent is to use tag questions. Just make sure that you don't use them too much and you vary which words you choose and you use the right negation. And this is harder than I expected.
Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Welcome to Waiguo Friends English, and today we're tackling tag questions.
These are some of the trickiest little things in our language because we just pop them on at the end of the sentence to make it into a question. I don't even have to think of the sentence I'm talking about. I can just add a thing at the end, right?
No. I mean, you make a statement and then you make it a question at the end with a tag question, so it's a little odd. We can manipulate it to sound sarcastic or to sound actually inquisitive, like a genuine question, or to make it sound like a polite question, but you don't really care. Like, we can use it and inflect it in a lot of different ways.
So let's just get into 5 things that make them more tricky than you might immediately think of. So, for example, the first one is you have to use opposite negation. Normally, tag questions have 2 parts. They have this statement on one side, and then you have the tag question on the other. And what's weird about them is they switch negation. So if you have a positive statement, you need to have a negative tag.
So, for example, you really do think I like you, don't you?
Yes. Or you could say, this is an awesome movie, isn't it?
No.
No. I thought it was.
Or you would eat noodles every day, wouldn't you?
Yes, we did.
We did.
We did,
That was
actually.
life for a while.
So as you can see, you have the positive statement, you like me, this movie's awesome, you could eat noodles, and then you have the negative statements that follow it. Don't you, isn't it, wouldn't you? You have these positive and negatives, but likewise, you could do it the other way. You could have a negative statement with a positive tag.
I wasn't scared, were you?
Maybe. Or they couldn't hear us, could they?
I don't know. They couldn't hear us, could they? We can inflect it differently. I haven't seen anything like this, have you?
No, this channel is amazing. So something to keep in mind when you switch negation is that you actually have to, and this is very important, is to keep the verb the same as the main verb, the main predicate, in the statement in the front. So when you say, I wasn't scared, then that means that that tag at the end is going to have that was statement. Were you? But in this case, because the subject of that part switches to you, you can't say was you, you say were you.
Were you? With would, this gets a little bit tricky because you could say, you wouldn't do that, would you? Or you could say, I would do that, wouldn't you? But you could also say things with have. With the perfects, this gets strange, especially with the perfect negative. It gets very confusing for a lot of students. So you could say, I haven't been there, have you? But you can also say, I have been there, haven't you? You
actually skip out on using that verb and replace it instead with the helping verb that goes with it, or the modal in the case of the would.
Tag questions can be tricky. Just pay attention to the verb tense. It would be a little bit odd for you to say, like, I haven't done that. Do you? You can't say it that way. You have to use the same verb tense, and then you have to switch positive and negative.
Second reason why tag questions are difficult, because you could completely ignore what we just taught you and just use neutral tag questions like right or huh or a or okay or you know, and completely disregard the verb that was in front of it. So for example, you have things like, you started working on that new project, right? You don't have to say, you started working on that new project, didn't you or haven't you? You could say that, or you could not, and you could just make it as easy as possible and just say, right?
I'm gonna go to the store, okay? I will say, in those cases, like in that example I just gave, you're not exactly saying like, do you wanna go with me? You're just saying, okay, I want verbal confirmation that you heard me, so you're not like, where are you? You know, it's kind of the idea.
Another thing you could say is, I still can't understand why he just left, you know?
You know is a common one. These, right, okay, you know, all of these are very easy to do way too much. And it is a pet peeve of a lot of people. So you can do this, but make sure you're not doing it very much. You don't want to check and make sure everybody hears every little thing you say by using these tag questions. They are very easy to overdo. So that's actually the third point. You don't want to overdo it.
So for example, a lot of times people say these stereotypes that Americans prefer this kind of tag question and British people prefer that kind of tag question. Canadians prefer A at the end of everything. And that's really not the case. There's a lot of variety that happens in tag questions specifically. And so what you need to do as an ESL speaker is, number one, don't use them too much just in general. But number two, don't have a specific pet tag question that you like put on the end of everything. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Don't end every statement with right or every statement with a. Whatever your choice of tag question is, don't use that one specifically. Otherwise, it gives this kind of non-natural feel to English.
Well, but how do you know? Right? How do you know how much is too much? A lot of it is you're going to have to just see it on somebody's face. You're going to have to kind of pick up on it. And different people have different preferences, I will say. Some people are much more tolerant of people saying, you know, at the end of every other sentence. Okay. You know. So, but that's one of those things you have to watch the people that you're around. Some people don't tolerate it very much at all. Whereas other people, they prefer it and they do it themselves and they don't really think about it. So you will run into Americans that say it way too much. You're also going to run into Americans that hardly ever use tag questions. Where you are, your workplace, the people you're surrounded with, all of those are going to kind of dictate. I will say every other sentence or every 3 or 4 sentences is too much. Ideally, within a short, small talk conversation, meaning about 5 minutes, you're not going to use a tag question more than 5 times. So maybe 1 a minute. Even then, that can get repetitive very quickly. I have to say that my tolerance is much lower for it than others. Now, obviously, as a teacher, I can understand it. I take it just fine. But because I have been around ESL speakers using them way too much, it does get more annoying when an American comes up and they have a habit of using them so much.
We need to be sparing in how we use this. A lot of public speaking courses, a lot of writing courses, that is one of the things that they'll tell you to delete right away. You don't need the confirmation, just keep on plowing ahead in terms of content, but sometimes you do need those. And that's why we have them in this list, because it is harder than you think to anticipate when is too much.
So definitely pay attention to the body language of your listeners. That will be a key indicator. Also, listen to them as they speak. Do they use them very often? If they don't, they've probably trained themselves out of it, because it is something that's quite common, especially in school with little kids. You want to turn a lot of things into questions to get them thinking, to get them expressing themselves. And so we kind of grow up speaking them a lot more frequently when we're little, because adults always use them with us as kids. As we get older, we kind of train ourselves out of it because it gets annoying. It's not that we let them go completely, we just don't use them as much.
Fourth reason why tag questions can be difficult is because you're always supposed to raise your voice, right?
No.
No, actually, especially if you were using a negative statement, you actually need to make your voice go down, because you're saying a statement that you want validated, not a question you want answered.
You ate cake without me, didn't you? Is that a question?
No.
It's an assumption. What you're doing when you make your voice go down is you're making an assumption and you're expecting some kind of response. But some people actually plow through and they don't give the person a chance to respond. They just continue accusing them or getting upset. Obviously not just about cake, but about all kinds of things. So this is something to pay attention to as you listen to arguments in TV shows and in movies. You will see this tag statement. They make it sound like a question, but it's not a question. It's a statement, an accusation. You definitely want to be careful because it definitely places blame, I would say.
For example, you could say, he's not coming, is he?
But you could also say, he's not coming, is he?
Ooh.
Just by inflection, the same thing, you would punctuate it the same way. In different contexts, we would say something different. Like, I'm asking a question. I want a confirmation of whether he's coming or not. I'm assuming not, but again, I don't know for sure. But if you put your voice down, then it means like, he's definitely not, is he?
Why isn't he coming?
You're disappointed, basically. It's kind of you expected it and it didn't happen. Let's give some more examples.
The mic wasn't on, was it?
The mic wasn't on, was it?
Another example is, you're not actually good at basketball, are you?
You're not actually good at basketball, are you?
The fifth and final reason that these tag questions are difficult is because they're not terribly common. Like she was saying earlier, outside of talking a lot with children, we try not to use these because it makes our speech sound a little bit more immature. It could sound kind of annoying. It could sound like you're always begging for people to give you answers or something like that, to give you validation.
But at the same time, we do use it strategically to invite people to respond. So you will hear public speakers use this. You will hear YouTube video of people doing this. And oftentimes it's on purpose. It's to make a statement. It's to make you step into their thinking for a minute so that they can more easily speak to you. And usually it's a tool of persuasion as well. It's to invite you in so that you are hooked and then to continue persuading you one way or another. It's a very common sales thing to do. It's a very common marketing thing to do. It's very common to use in customer service. So it's one of those things that you will hear in normal settings, and you will hear often, definitely daily, but it's not ideally the same person in the same conversation in 10 minutes giving you 100 tag questions. It's not going to be like that.
I think a lot of ESL material that's written out there emphasize practice more than practicality. So they will teach you these tag questions and they'll say, time to do 100 exercises of tag questions. And in reality, that is just a small part, like all of English. It's just a small part of our language. It's a tool that you can use effectively and use efficiently, use strategically, but it's not something you're going to use every statement.
You shouldn't. Please don't. But also, you don't want to always be like, okay, or you know. It's an easy way to get extra with. It's a very easy way to annoy. And if you happen to be into drama and doing skits, this is a great way to make fun of a cultural thing. It's actually a really great thing to make fun of. And I've seen plays and skits like this where you just have this one character who's meant to be as annoying as possible. Repeating tag questions all the time is a key way that they do that.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Tag questions are actually really difficult. We could do a deep dive into them, but really we want to keep it short and sweet because that's how we learn language. We acquire one thing at a time. And in this case, it's these tag questions that are surprisingly tricky.
If you want to know more about the grammar of tag questions, you can come check them out at Fluency Fast Track. You can sign up for a membership there and take our American Small Talk course that will walk you through these and how to use them appropriately in small talk conversations. But you can also look up some videos of it on YouTube. And I will tell you, there are some differences between British and American English and South African English and Australian English and how we use this, how frequently we use these, and in which ways we use them in the negative. So make sure you pay attention and make sure that you are learning from a teacher for the English that you want to learn.
All right, guys, that's it for this video. We'll catch you on the next one.